Hey guys, how's it going? AK Moto here. Today we are finally going to be tearing into my 125 so we can rebuild that motor. Now today we got to get the motor out of the bike as well as tear it down. Maybe I'll tear it down in this video or another video. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll just have to see how this video does on timing. Now recently I have been busy with other projects here in the shop. I got this YZ125 I recently built the motor on. As you can see, did a lot of vapor honing of the cases. The cases actually had to be welded and repaired. Fresh hardware all the way around, and new OEM cylinder, Vertex piston fits perfectly that cylinder, hot rods crank, hot rods trans bearings, main bearings, and yeah, this thing's completely dialed in. Vertex gaskets, the whole shebang, and yeah, this thing is gonna be super dialed. Now I've already started it up and it runs absolutely great, and we got to do the same thing to my motor. So yeah, we need to rebuild this thing, and over here let's take a look at the parts. So first of all, as you guys can probably see, Fathead Racing, you guys probably know what that is, and if you don't, this is a high compression cylinder head that I ordered for this bike. I'm going to be experimenting with a high compression piston or a high compression cylinder head, and we're going to see how that works out. Now unfortunately, by going with a high compression head, while we may get some power gains, we will also have to run race gas with that, which I'm fine with, as this is my secondary bike. My main bike's over there, my daily driver, my 250. But this is going to be my secondary bike, so I'm not going to be taking it out week in and week out. So of course I'm going to burn a whole lot less gas, because I'm probably only going to take it to races and maybe every once in a while just out to shred. But again, this thing's not going to be my daily driver of a dirt bike. So while race gas definitely isn't cheap, it's going to be a lot more manageable when I only have to buy like 1 or 2 race gas pails a year. So with a high compression head, generally when you increase the compression ratio of a engine, you do get more power from them, because they just can extract more power from your fuel and whatnot. Now, with that being said, because we are possibly increasing the power of the engine, that is going to put more strain on the engine's internals. So that's something you got to keep in mind when you're doing modifications like this. Now I've considered the factors, and I have determined that that's not really going to be an issue for me, because again, it's going to be my secondary bike. I'm not going to log a crazy amount of hours on it, but if this was my only bike, then I would really think hard about doing any modifications to the motor. Next, over here in this box we have some Pro X parts. I have a lot of Pro X parts for this motor. This is a complete gasket kit. Comes with all the gaskets we'll need, some seals, some O-rings, all that good stuff. High quality parts. I got some fuel, or not some fuel line, some vent line. This is all for the carb and stuff, and an extra top end gasket kit over there. Here I have a Bolt motorcycle hardware engine fastener kit. Now I'm not sponsored, but I just really like these kits, because they're only 35 bucks and you get a whole engine's worth of hardware, at least for the exterior of the engine, all in one little kit. As you guys can see, I used it on this bike. This is a YZ125 again. I used the whole engine fastener kit on this bike, and it turned out super dialed. Now on my bike, the fasteners really aren't that corroded, but I wanted to get one of these anyway because they're literally 35 bucks. Can't beat it. Next up in here we have a Pro X cast piston. Now in the past I've always ran forged pistons, but I'm going to be going with a cast piston for this build, mainly just because these can run a little bit tighter than their forged pistons. For example, when I was running a forged piston, I noticed when I went from the stock cast to the forged one from YZ125, I noticed they ran a little bit louder, and that's just due to a little bit more clearance from the cylinder to the piston. They have to run a little bit more clearance, but these cast pistons can run a little bit tighter. Now, of course, the only downside with that, the forged pistons are known to be more durable than cast pistons. With that being said, modern day cast pistons are pretty dang good, and because I'm going to be replacing these probably every 25 hours anyway, you know, I'm not really going to be taking advantage of the durability properties of a forged piston, because again, we are going to be going with a high compression head, possibly, you know, straining more on our engine parts, so we're going to be replacing them more often. Right down in here I have a whole engine's worth of Yamaha OEM bearings. So trans bearings, got the main bearings, and all that good stuff, because again, while I do want to increase the power output a little bit, well, I think that would be pretty sick, we are also aiming for a little bit of durability here, and there's nothing better in my opinion than OEM. Now of course, if you really want to spend the big bucks, there's like things like ceramic bearings and all that stuff, but I'm not a factory racing team. I'm just a kid in a garage, and OEM will work fine for me, because the way I see it, these are pretty durable. Generally Yamaha, or generally OEM manufacturers, aren't really there to cut corners to cut down prices, so while these can be a better option than some aftermarket bearings, at the same time they will likely cost a little bit extra. Right in here I have a Pro X connecting rod kit. Now these are a really nice kit made in Japan. And yeah, I've used 3 of these on 3 other 2-stroke cranks I've rebuilt in the past, and I've been impressed with the quality of these, so I'm going to be using one in my own bike. And I'm not sponsored by any of these companies, by the way. Just wanted to give you guys my honest thoughts about these. Here I have a countershaft seal kit, Pro X as well. Got a little spark plug in here. It kind of sucks because I can only really find these $10 ones for my bike, and it kind of sucks when you're doing like a spark plug chop test. Cost you 10 bucks, but whatever. And then right down in here I have a lot of just miscellaneous gaskets, OEM studs, bearings, just a lot of little miscellaneous parts that we're going to be replacing along the way. Here I have crank seals. I wanted to go OEM for the crank seals because, again, durability is #1, especially when you're adding performance parts. You really want to make sure you have some good parts in your motor. I'm also looking into possibly port matching the cylinder to the case. We'll just have to see how much needs to be corrected when we do tear it down. Maybe it'll be fine as it is and we don't even have to touch it. We'll see. But the first thing we have to do is drain all the fluids before we even tear anything down. Now I think I've already drained the coolant. I'm pretty sure the whole cooling system is dry right now. I'm not sure about the transmission oil, so let's check. Alright guys, so memory does serve me right. I did already drain the coolant in the past, but I did have to drain the transmission oil. Now, there was quite a bit of sludge buildup on the drain plug's magnet. I don't know if that's just because it's been sitting a long time. That's probably clutch plate debris, but I'm not sure. That might not be actually, because clutch plate debris probably wouldn't stick to a magnet. Not entirely sure though, but yeah, it's definitely a little bit of sludge. My guess is just this bike's been sitting a while. Yeah, anyway, we're gonna get to tearing this thing down. All we gotta do here, luckily 2-strokes are pretty easy and simple to tear down, at least these 125s are. All we gotta do is pull the subframe, get the carb out of the way, we got to pull the gas tank off, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, it sounds like a lot, but trust me guys, it's only like 10 bolts or so. So let's get right into it. Pull it off the seat, and what do you guys know? It has a fresh filter in it, but now we just gotta take off our subframe, then our gas tank. Probably gonna go with the gas tank first, then the subframe, and then we can start tearing this motor out of the bike. Alright guys, as you can obviously see, the motor's on the bench and we have it out of the bike here. Now I really do like how easy this bike is to work on. I mean, if you really wanted to rush it, if I wasn't filming, I could probably have the motor out in 30 minutes. But it's a really easy disassembly, if I'm going to be totally honest with y'all. As you guys can see, I got a little bit of scrubbing to do, a little bit of cleaning to do, just go in here with the rag and clean some of this up. But honestly, the frame isn't as dirty as I thought it would be. This is 25 hours on the bike and it still looks pretty clean, so I'm just gonna go in with the rag, kind of wipe some of that dust off, and the frame will be pretty much good. But yeah guys, so we have the motor out and I'm really thinking that the big end bearing in the crank is gone out. I think that's what the issue is, because when I turn the flywheel I do feel like a little bit of a play. But anyway, we're gonna tear that down here in the next video, or maybe in the same video, I'm not sure. But if this is gonna be in the next video, thank you guys so much for watching. Click the subscribe button down below so you guys don't miss any more engine building content. I know I've been doing a lot of engine videos recently, and yeah, I hope you guys have liked it, have enjoyed it, and yeah, big plans for this motor. In the next video we will get to tearing it down and see what the heck our issue was, if it's a bearing in the transmission, if it was actually the crank bearing like I had originally predicted. We'll find out in the next video guys, but thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.